We have attendees. So thank you all for joining us. My name is Paul Eakins. I'm the Public Affairs Information Officer for the City of Santa Ana. And this is the Revive Santa Ana Community Town Hall. I see we have some more joining us here. So thank you all for talking about this important issue. I'm going to provide a little instruction first for language. We have Spanish and Vietnamese interpreters available. So let's start with that before we proceed further. Okay, so for our Spanish and Vietnamese interpretation, let me share this. All right. Can we see the screen? Everyone can see that screen? All right, perfect. So this is the process, very simple. There's a globe there that you click and you choose your language to go to the Spanish or Vietnamese channel for this. And I would like to ask our interpreters to provide that explanation briefly in Spanish and Vietnamese.
Claro que sí, buenas noches, bienvenidos a la Junta de Revive Santa Ana esta noche, y va a haber interpretación al español y al vietnamita. Para activar la información en español, abajo de su pantalla hay un globo, el icono de un globo terráqueo. Oprimen ahí y seleccionan el idioma español, si quieren escuchar en español, y pueden escuchar la Junta de esa manera.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And Tu, would you like to provide the Vietnamese?
Yes. Dạ, thưa kính chào quý vị. Bắt đầu buổi họp thì chúng tôi có thông dịch viên nói tiếng Tây Ban Nha và nói tiếng Việt. Ở dưới cái màn ảnh của quý vị thì quý vị sẽ thấy cái hình quả địa cầu. Quý vị nhấn vào cái hình quả địa cầu thì quý vị sẽ thấy hiện ra là English hoặc là Spanish hoặc là Vietnamese, tức là tiếng Anh, tiếng Tây Ban Nha và tiếng Việt. Nếu quý vị muốn nghe tiếng Việt do tôi thông dịch thì quý vị nhấn vào cái chỗ là Vietnamese thì quý vị có thể nghe tôi thông dịch. Dạ, cảm ơn quý vị. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right. So as we go forward with this, pardon me one moment. Sorry, I'm having a minor technical issue here. Okay. All right, so also for our English speakers, so our Spanish and Vietnamese speakers can go to the interpreter function now. For our English speakers, if you would like to hear when someone is asking a question in Spanish or Vietnamese, you can switch your language as well. And see choose English, and you will have the English version of the question asked there, or audio there. And as we go forward to participate in the meeting, we have a couple ways to participate. If you, after the presentation, when you want to ask questions or make comments, you can use the raise your hand function in Zoom, the little yellow hand. And then we also have the chat box going, so you can put your questions in there. We will be monitoring that. And for this Zoom meeting is also on our TV channel and on our YouTube channel. So if you are watching on YouTube, you're always welcome to join us on Zoom. But if you want to stay watching on YouTube, but you have a question, you can enter your question or your comment into the chat in YouTube. And we will be monitoring that as well, so we will try to address as many questions as we can today. So with that, we had our introduction and instructions here, and we will have a welcome from Mayor Vicente Sarmiento. That will be followed by a presentation by City Manager Christine Ridge about Revive Santa Ana, and then we'll go into the comments and Q&A section of the meeting. And with the idea that this meeting will end at 7:30, so hopefully we will be able to answer a lot of questions for everyone. So I will turn this over to the mayor now.
Great, thank you, Paul, and good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we're going to be talking about something really, really exciting. We want to thank you for taking some time to spend with us and allow us to talk to you about, this federal stimulus package that we will be receiving very soon. We call our portion of it Revive Santa Ana, or in Spanish, Revive Santa Ana. And it really is a commitment to protect us and revive our community as we emerge and lift restrictions and consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic. We know it's been a year like no other. So what's been great is that, all of you have really participated to a degree that we're very grateful, because I think more than 1,000 surveys have been completed and turned in. I know I've been visiting neighborhood associations. I think I've done about 10 or 12, and I've kind of crashed these environmental justice meetings just because I think this is such an important topic that I wanted to urge everybody to be aware of it and to provide us with input and give us, suggestions and recommendations of what we might be able to do. We're talking about $143 million, which is a very, very significant amount of funding that the city is going to be receiving. But let's remember that it is a large amount because Santa Ana has been so drastically impacted, especially in some of our neighborhoods that have been very hard hit, some of the hardest hit in the entire county and in the entire state. So I want to thank, neighborhood associations that have welcomed me to be able to address them, from, the Delhi Neighborhood Association in the south to the Morrison Park Neighborhood Association in the north, to Windsor Village in the west, to Saddleback View on the east. All of you have been so accommodating and willing to talk about this and share your thoughts, and I think we're gathering those. And, for me, it's just a really hopeful moment for the city, because there is an opportunity for us to not just emerge from this and go back to where we were pre-pandemic, but I think there's an opportunity for us to, just come back better and stronger. And so you will be hearing from our city manager, you'll be hearing from our staff, but more importantly, they're going to be listening to you. And I think that's been the benefit that I've had of being able to join you at different neighborhood associations, because I've really tried to listen rather than speak. That is the critical piece of this, is that as we deliberate, we're deliberating these decisions on allocation of these funds based upon your input. And what was really interesting is there was an article that was made public today, and it talked about how some agencies and some cities are requesting input from their community like ours, and others aren't. And we are trying to be extremely transparent. These are your funds, ways that we can help make people's lives better in Santa Ana. We know that these are, some of the guidance and guidelines from the federal government just came down, I believe, yesterday. And so we have a better idea of what we can use these for. But really, what I saw after perusing it is that there's a really strong equity component to it, meaning that these efforts and these resources are to be channeled in a manner that is hoping to redress and help those hardest hit families and neighborhoods in town. So, it's to me a historic moment. I just want to make sure that I thank the city council that said, hey, let's push this information out. We want to hear from our residents. We want to hear from everybody in the community. I want to thank the staff that's been so hard at work, making sure that everybody has access to information, whether it's texting, emailing, doing the surveys. And, I want to thank, the business owners that are very excited about what this can do to our local economy. And most importantly, I just want to thank you all, the residents, for taking this so seriously, realizing that this is a special moment in the city's history. So, with that, I just simply wanted to say welcome. Thank you. You're going to be receiving a lot of very good information. This isn't the last time you're going to see it. We're going to be looking at this at the city council, but this really is an exciting moment. I know some of the council members, I see Council Member Fan out there, to the other council members, thank you all for joining me and making this a really collaborative effort in the community. And, you know, I'm not going to be able to stay on with you very long. I've got a very noisy household and a noisy dog. It's, you know, I'm celebrating my birthday, so I won't tell you how old I am, but I'll give you some math. If you guys can do math really quickly, my family arrived in Santa Ana in 1965 when I was a year old, and that's all I'm going to say. So, you know, that way I'll leave it to your imagination to guess. But somebody told me the new 50s or the 50s are the new 30s. So, hey, I'm going to stick with it. So in any event, I'm going to toss it back to Paul. Thank you all so much for lending us your time and, more importantly, giving us your thoughts and your suggestions. So have a great evening, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate all those sentiments, and happy birthday. Have fun as much as you can with the mask on and all. I just wanted to mention that it looks like our YouTube stream is a little glitchy right now. So if anyone is trying to watch it on YouTube, it seems to be cutting in and out. But there is in the YouTube video in the description. I did include the Zoom link. So anyone who can't join us on YouTube, or if it's not visible for you very, very well, then you can click the Zoom link and join us there as well. But it looks like it's starting to come back here. But anyway, just for anyone who is able to hear that on YouTube. So now we are going to move on to City Manager Christine Ridge, who I'm happy to introduce, and who's been working very, very hard trying to figure out all of the intricacies of this federal funding and what we can do with it. So I will send it over to you, Christine, and let me know when you want me to start the presentation.
Certainly. So thank you, Paul, and thank you, Mayor. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to see so many people engaging in this town hall. It is very, very important, as the Mayor stated. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear your feedback on it. We really have a once-in-a-lifetime historic opportunity to take these federal dollars and put them to work in our community. So I do have a brief presentation that I want to walk you through information about the federal dollars, about the plans that we've been crafting together, just proposed at this point. We are wanting to incorporate all of your feedback into those, and there's going to be a lot more opportunities where you'll be able to have a say on what ultimately gets approved with this package of dollars. So with that, Paul, if you could put up the presentation.
I will do that now. There it goes. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Oh, not able to see it yet? One moment.
Yep. There you go. Thank you.
All right,
Paul.
there we are. Okay.
So the dollars that we receive are going to help us address the devastating impact that COVID-19 has had on our economy, our public health, and social challenges. Under the title Revive Santa Ana, as the Mayor mentioned, we have an umbrella of some concepts, and those are what I want to talk to you about. I'd like to get through the presentation, and then at the end of the presentation, hear all of your comments, attempt to answer your questions. If I can't answer them on the spot, we will certainly record them, and I will make sure that I follow up with answers. We could potentially post them on our website. So with that, let's begin. So the anticipated funding is the result of the American Rescue Plan of 2021. This was a legislative package that was signed into law on March 11th, 2021 by President Biden. We initially believed, and what we had presented previously, is that the city of Santa Ana would receive a direct allocation of about $143 million. So a lot of money to make a significant impact. As of today, just this afternoon actually, more information is rolling out. We did determine that the amount that we will receive from the ARPA plan is $128.4 million, still a significant amount of dollars that we can make a lot of improvements. And then we also are going to be awarded additional housing funding of $21.5 million. The spending guidance, this is the one thing we've been developing this program in the dark because we have not had detailed spending guidelines. So the U.S. Treasury, we were bothering them every day to see when the guidelines were going to come out. Just yesterday, they issued the guidance on what is allowable to use these dollars for. Their spending guidelines, it's actually an interim final rule. It's a 151-page document that our financial staff has been going through with a fine-tooth comb, making sure we're educated on what's allowable, what's not. We've had staff participate in webinars, and they're participating in Q&A sessions with the U.S. Treasury. We do have a lot of questions. There are some complete prohibitions on things, but then there are other areas aren't as defined, so we're going to seek clarification on that. But I want you to know that going into this, that some of our concepts, and we welcome all of your input, but we will have to adjust as we go along to make sure that we do meet and comply with all of those requirements. So next slide. So far, under the leadership of the council, and we've had this item discussed at the council level, and we've also done a lot of brainstorming with the executive management team, we have proposed 5 priority focus areas for these dollars. The specific programs and services under these focus areas, we certainly are looking to the community and incorporating your input. The first number 1 is recovery from the pandemic. I don't need to tell you that our community was one of the hardest hit in Orange County in terms of the number of cases and impacts to our residents. So there is a lot of room left to recover from the pandemic. We believe we need to keep doing our COVID-19 vaccinations. We've collaborated. I'm proud of the percentage of our population that we have vaccinated right now, but those efforts still certainly need to continue. We need to continue practicing CDC guidelines to make sure that the numbers don't go in the wrong direction again. The second area is direct assistance programs. So this is something that the city really focused on. If you guys can recall, we received CARES dollars and we rolled out the CARES program, and we provided direct financial assistance to businesses, to residents, to artists, to nonprofits. We do believe that that is an area that we must continue on with these dollars. A third priority area is public health and safety. We know that with the disparate impact our community suffered under COVID-19, that there is a substantial need to address the quality of life issues that were exacerbated by the pandemic, and also provide better resources for healthier living. The fourth area is critical infrastructure. This one is talked a lot about in the guidelines, whether it's water, sewer, or broadband internet. The pandemic has elevated the need, and certainly the federal government has definitely recognized that. And the last bucket is city fiscal health. Just like the private businesses in our city, when their economic activity stopped and their customers stopped, the city's fiscal health was also damaged as we received general revenues that are based on economic activity. And as that declined, we did have a loss of revenues. And part of the spending guidelines does allow for governmental entities to replace lost revenue. So I'm going to talk about each one of these in a little more detail. And some of the ideas that we had for programs or services. And these ideas came from our city council, from our executive team, and from some input that we had already received. So on the recovery from the pandemic, as I mentioned before, the vaccination, but we really think we need to add another or enhance another component to that, and that is the education component. We do know that we have a higher level of vaccine hesitation within our community, so we want to do everything we can to help educate the facts around the vaccinations and the safety of the vaccinations. Expansion of critical city communication tools. This was a lesson that we definitely learned as a result of the pandemic, that we weren't really equipped to reach out and communicate in all aspects of our community. So we might have robust social media, but we have residents that don't utilize social media. We have residents that need print materials. So we were scrambling and the CARES to get out the information on assistance. And we literally went out to the streets with flyers and door hangers. So we really see the need that we can be a better government and provide better services if we enhance the tools of communications. Some of the ideas we had is, and we've started one of them already, is a text alert system. We're able to access phones that are registered within, cell phones registered in Santa Ana. And on a very sparingly basis, for the most important of topics, we can develop quite an alert system on that. So that's something we want to continue to expand on. Digital boards, we realized that we needed to get quick messages out, whether it was testing here or whether it was, wear your face mask. We actually acquired some of the mobile digital boards on wheels that you see out on the street, usually used for street construction, and we utilize those to get important messages to the community. So one of the ideas was, but wouldn't it be great if at our public facilities, community centers, or parks, we could actually have a very nice sign that has a changeable message, and so we could get out to the community more important messages closer to where everybody lives. Cleaning and sanitization of public spaces, we do believe this is still an important area. And then a concept of addition of an equity and inclusion coordinator. We do know that the pandemic hit different populations at different levels, and part of this funding of this money is to ensure that we sustain and recover, but also that we address any inequities. And so I believe the addition of this coordinator, it's something I would like to have right in my city manager's office, so we can make sure that our community, all aspects of our community, are equally served. And then this last one, a feasibility study. So this is one that came up quite a lot in conversations as we were dealing with the pandemic. So you may or may not know the state obviously has a health department with a medical officer. Most of your other medical officers are found in public health departments of counties. But there are a few select cities that have their own public health department, Long Beach, Pasadena, for example. So Santa Ana, really decades ago, turned over by resolution the public health department responsibilities to the County of Orange. So we are under the umbrella of the County of Orange, and they have the medical officer that issues the public health announcements and edicts. So it was a concept to utilize some of these dollars to engage in a feasibility study to see would our residents be better served if we actually took over some of the responsibilities of the public health department. It's a very complex issue, and there are a lot of different components that come with running your own public health department. But we thought now more than ever is a great opportunity to delve into that and see if it would provide better services. The next item, which was the second focus area, is direct assistance program. So we have talked a lot about doing some more resident stimulus. The exact method of it hasn't been determined. We would love to hear input on this. We've had conversations anywhere from doing a Visa card for the hardest hit census tracts so that they can use them for essential purchases. We've talked about maybe just a mini replica of the federal stimulus program, where it's just a direct check to those that are hit the hardest from those qualified census tracts to anything. Also, we discussed, or maybe there's a small monthly basic income that we could provide. So that's one of the areas that we would roll up under this. Reopening assistance to businesses. The state right now, everything is pointing towards the direction that the governor may be able to open everything up as of June 15th. If he does, there's going to be a lot of businesses that can throw open their doors. Having them be financially able and viable to do that is another thing. So reopening assistance might be beneficial to the businesses. The other types of programs that we were contemplating and wanting to recommend to City Council dealt a lot with our youth. One of the things with the schools going online and the students in their homes, we do think that we owe them a lot, and we want to get programs out there for them. Certain ones that came up that were discussed is just youth violence intervention programs, sexual assault intervention programs, after school programs, early childhood education programs, and then digital literacy education. Everybody, including city employees, had to pivot to doing everything with technology and Zoom meetings, and in the beginning it was a little hard. And we have heard from residents that that was hard for them as well. So we think there's a great opportunity through robust library offerings that we can help improve the digital literacy. Supporting food distribution events. I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to stop by. We've had a number of them happening in our city, and there still is a great need out there for food distributions, and the city, we want to keep continuing to collaborate and assist those fabulous organizations that have been doing that. Under the third priority focus area, the public and health safety. One of the things that has been proven, and UCI did a study that assisted us with that, is the populations that had didn't have adequate open space, didn't have healthy eating habits, were some of those that were greatly impacted by the pandemic. So we really believe, we recognize we need to have additional green space. This is one item where we are going to have to scour the guidelines a little more, but we hope to use some of this money to acquire and add a new park space. The other area is healthy food accessibility, anything that we could do in this area to provide convenient, local, healthy food. And then we have had, and I'm sure a lot of you have noticed, there has been an increased presence of homeless in our community. Partly that is as a result of the pandemic. It's also as a result of many of the shelters that serve our homeless having to reduce their capacity because of social distancing requirements. So we have a lot of ideas of how we can increase homeless services using nonprofits. For example, one of the concepts is rapid response for homeless, similar to what City of Anaheim is doing right now. And it's where you're diverting 911 calls from law enforcement to nonprofits to get a rapid response out to the homeless individuals to provide outreach and offering of services. And then this last bullet is kind of a catch-all. We had a lot of dreams. If you talk to our public works director, if you talk to our parks and rec director, things that they want to do with this money to improve the existing parks, the community centers, and the library. This is an area that is going to need a little more research under the guidelines to make sure that we can, in fact, use those dollars for it. But these are the venues that became critical to us as we were dealing with the pandemic and having testing pop-ups done and having vaccination sites. So the next priority focus area is critical infrastructure. So as I mentioned before, the guidelines talk a lot about affordable broadband access and additional broadband infrastructure. So we're not a rural community. There isn't an area in Santa Ana that doesn't have access to an internet service provider. But what we do have is we have quality issues and we have cost issues. So this is something that is eligible for these dollars to be spent on. Anything from, is there a way, whether it's a Wi-Fi component or whether it's an expansion of fiber optics that we have around the central city, or a partnership, a public-private partnership, where we can secure quality broadband access. And a lot of the discussion on the quality is the speed at which you can upload and download. Many of the households that had to utilize, everyone in the house, whether they were utilizing it for work or it was their children utilizing it for school, didn't have the bandwidth and the capacity for that. Infrastructure improvements for safe, clean drinking water. We have a fabulous Public Works Water Division, and we have won awards for our water, but we do have contaminants in the city, and so anything we can do to do improvements to ensure safe and clean drinking water, I believe would be worthy to do. Sewer infrastructure improvements are all qualified expenditures. And then if anybody's driven in the downtown area when it rains, you know that we need to improve our stormwater runoff, and that also is very much a qualified expenditure. Information technology upgrades, and I'm talking about information technology upgrades for some of the antiquated systems that are in place at the city of Santa Ana. We have a population that more and more, we have elected officials that want us to better serve individuals online, have a lot more services present online. And we did learn about that as we had to shift to close certain operations and have appointments, that shifting as services, providing them online was important. We just did not have the backbone and the back structure to accommodate it. So a lot of opportunities for information technology upgrades that would better serve businesses and residents in our community. Pedestrian and mobility improvements. This is one, unfortunately, that isn't very clear in the guidelines, but certainly a lot of conversation around, can we fix some of our sidewalks? Can we fix some of our industrial streets? Can we fix other streets to improve mobility for whether it's bike, pedestrian, or vehicles? And that one's going to take a little bit more research. And then the final priority bucket is the city's fiscal health. So I was a little bit worried when I first read the spending guidelines, because the second the pandemic hit, we anticipated a reduction in revenues. So we pivoted and adjusted our budget. So we didn't count on large amounts of revenue coming in so that we had this identifiable loss. But I'm very happy that in the guidelines, what they did do is they are allowing governments to look back and see what would you have anticipated receiving in general fund revenues on a go-forward basis, and what did you receive? So this will provide the city to do a lot of replacement for revenue that we lost during the pandemic. Definitely our hotel visitor tax, our business tax, our parking revenue are three key areas that had declined. With that, it does allow us then to utilize those dollars as general fund dollars, which certainly gives the city council a lot more discretion at where they choose to spend those dollars. Other areas that we impacted the city, the government finances, our unemployment fund. We are self-insured for unemployment, our payout for employee sick, family, medical leave, our public parking garages, as all activity and customers in the downtown area slowed down, so did the revenues from these parking garages, and then staffing shortages. Administering dollars of this magnitude with the reporting requirements, as well as providing the services, developing those different programs and services, we do see an opportunity and a need to help supplement the staff. So next slide. So I know you're going to get the opportunity tonight to ask questions and certainly leave comments that we will capture. But if you walk away and you think of something else, I really want to promote, the mayor mentioned it, it's our Revive Santa Ana survey. It's online. There are hard copies available also at City Hall and at our library. It's been open for quite a while, but it does close in just 5 days. So I encourage you to check out the website and fill out the survey. We have had, I believe, about 1,300 already completed to date. The deadline is May 16th for a specific reason. So if I'll leave this up a little bit longer so you can see the website. It's santa-ana.org/revive-santa-ana. And then Paul, you want to advance to that? So why are we cutting it off on May 16th? So the City Council will once again discuss Revive Santa Ana during a budget workshop this very next week at 5:45. That is another opportunity for you to call in and provide your input and listen in. You can watch on YouTube, the city's TV channel, Channel 3 on Spectrum, and Channel 99 on AT&T UVerse. So the next steps are the council will consider it on May 18th in a budget workshop, and you will also have a lot of opportunity throughout June as we're developing our budget. So in addition to the online survey, the hard copy survey, the existing council meetings where this item is scheduled to talk about, there is a lot of opportunity for community engagement. So now the more important part, the questions or just the comments. And I believe Paul is going to be the facilitator. He knows how to run the technology on this.
Thank you, City Manager. Yes, so now we are moving on to the comment and question section. Also, I just wanted to point out for, as the City Manager mentioned, the survey, I will put the link to that survey in the chat so people can find that easily, but it's also on our city website on the homepage under the community surveys section, because this is not the only survey that we have going on right now. We have a survey for our parks master plan and for some other issues as well. So those, I also encourage people to fill out other surveys as well that interest you because we value your input on everything that we're working on. So, and then also I did want to point out that we had that PowerPoint presentation. As the city manager mentioned, we had a lot of changing information just in the last hours actually. So we did have a PowerPoint presentation with in Spanish and Vietnamese also queued up. I was going to put a link to that in there, but because we had to make so many changes to the English version, we didn't have those ready to go now. So I will be putting those once we get that properly translated onto that Revive Santa Ana webpage, so that you can always go back and look at that if you would like to in Spanish and Vietnamese as well as this English one. We'll go up there as well within the next couple of days here. So anyway, that's the place where you can find information about the program, the survey, these PowerPoint presentations, all of this, as well as we will be putting up the video from this Zoom as well. So with that said, let's move forward to the comments and question and answers. And so it looks like we have a hand raised. So, as mentioned before, if you have a comment or a question, please raise your hand with the button at the bottom of the screen there. I have Andrea Harris who has a question. So I'm going to enable you to talk. And let's see, are you able to speak?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. There you are. Please go ahead.
Wonderful. I just wanted to say thank you for this presentation and for bringing us together. Feeling more included in this process is really critical to recovery, and also making us all get involved and start working together because we all need each other. I'm one of the commission members for the Arts and Culture in Santa Ana. And I just wanted to say that I hope that, again, the arts and educators, artists, our community members and leaders will be considered during this time with this funding, because we are here and ready to work and ready to help with recovery, help bring our city back, help our community and our fellow citizens to have a hand in recovery. And I just wanted to let you know, the commission members, we have an incredibly well done master plan to help and put into play immediately. So as these things play out, please know that we are here and we will be able to make incredible things happen here in the city. You can lean on your artists, you can lean on your educators and your community members who've been active all along. We are essential workers and we are ready to go. So thank you so much for having us all here.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you for your service. And art is such an integral part of our community, and you certainly will not be overlooked. But thank you for your feedback.
Thank you very much. I will move on to another question here from Chloe Rios. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Well, thank you so much for the presentation. This is wonderful. I guess while I was listening to it, there was a lot of questions that were raised. First of all, my name is Chloe, and I represent Alianza Translatinx, which is the first transgender-led organization in the county. And I want to know, how is the city thinking of including the transgender community when it comes to receiving a lot of the services that were mentioned during the presentation? And my question that I'm posing is because I am a longtime resident of Orange County. I lived here since I was 11 years old. And as a transgender woman myself, I had to leave Orange County to be able to find the resources to be able to complete my transition. And as we all know, the transgender community is one of the hardest hit community by COVID-19, which amplified a lot of our needs. And we really did not see a lot of the help from a lot of the resources that were provided, throughout 2020. So I want to make sure that the transgender community is included in the decision making and also is included in the entire process of distributing the funds and making sure that the transgender community receives. So I kind of want to know what your plan is on that.
Okay. Thank you, Chloe, and I'm familiar with your organization. I would want your assistance with that. So under assistance for residents and for businesses, if you have any specific ideas on that, we would certainly welcome those and develop them. We have the overarching priorities and we have some concepts, but this is why we're having a meeting like this, is so that we can get direct input from you. So thank you for being here and raising the issue of the transgender community. And I would welcome, I don't know if you filled out a survey yet, but I certainly would welcome some suggestions from you on how best could we provide assistance to that community.
I have. Thank you so much for responding. I just want to make sure that through this presentation, we're very limited on the comments that we can make. And I wish that there was an easier process other than just the survey, because obviously I can't write everything there. But I'm definitely, you know, I can work with all of you and making sure that the community, the transgender community is being served properly. So please keep me in the loop, and I'm ready to help and work.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for the input. I'm going to go now to Cielo Mar. One moment. All right, please go ahead. Cielo Mar, are you there?
Sí, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Marcela Rosas y yo quiero hacer algunas sugerencias para en lo que se puede invertir el dinero. Muchos de nosotros, yo soy residente de aquí de Santa Ana, tengo 3 hijos y igual que yo hay muchas mamás que tienen que salir a trabajar y no tienen dónde dejar a sus hijos. Tenemos problemas porque los niños están quedándose solos en casa. Entonces, a mí me gustaría que la ciudad implementara los fondos, parte de los fondos en programas parecidos a los que tienen los Boys and Girls Club, donde tienen actividades pedagógicas o educativas, tienen deportes y tienen arte, tienen todos los programas incluidos y a un costo muy accesible. Los miembros de los Boys and Girls Club hacen un pago anual y con eso tenemos, los niños tienen acceso a todas las actividades, tanto educativas como culturales y deportivas. Tienen participación con otros, otras Boys and Girls de otras ciudades, tienen eventos deportivos, de arte, sociales, etcétera. Yo quisiera que la ciudad fuera una pionera en hacer este tipo de inversiones en los centros comunitarios donde pudiéramos tener, nuestros hijos pudieran tener acceso a programas de ayuda para la escuela, así como deportivas y de arte. Tenemos en Santa Ana, se presume, acaba de hablar nuestra representante de los artistas, pero sabemos que eso pareciera que es solamente para un grupo exclusivo de la ciudad, no para la comunidad. Quisiéramos que se bajaran a la comunidad y dieran clases para los niños a precios accesibles, porque nosotros somos de bajos recursos. Entonces, quisiéramos que los artistas apoyaran a nuestra comunidad, pero al nivel de la comunidad, no para un nivel alto. Entonces, yo sugiero que se hagan programas muy parecidos a los de los Boys and Girls Club para que se invierte el dinero. La otra es, yo quisiera que el programa, ustedes dijeron, nuestra gerente dijo al principio que mucha de nuestra comunidad fuimos afectados por lo del COVID. Y sí es cierto, muchos de nosotros nos quedamos sin trabajar hasta por 3 meses o más, casi un año hemos estado sin trabajar, pero no hemos tenido acceso a los fondos de CARES o CARES, porque no es fácil tener acceso. Seguimos dependiendo de la firma que nos pueda dar el dueño de los departamentos. Quisiera yo que, por favor, hicieran los trámites más fáciles, más accesibles para que nosotros pudiéramos tener acceso a esos fondos. No es fácil tener ese dinero. Muchos de nosotros, yo misma, no me ha sido fácil aplicar por todo el trámite y el papeleo que tengo que llenar. Entonces, me gustaría que se facilitara ese proceso, que se bajara a la comunidad, que se abrieran centros o lugares donde nos pudieran ayudar para llenar esos trámites, porque a veces muchos de nosotros no tenemos las herramientas necesarias como la computadora o la máquina para poder pasar todas las copias. Entonces, por favor, ese programa, esos fondos que están disponibles, quisiéramos que se bajaran también realmente a la comunidad y hubiera lugares donde nos pudieran estar asesorando y apoyando y quitaran esos requisitos tan críticos que no son fáciles de llenar porque seguimos dependiendo de otra persona. La otra, aquí en Santa Ana existen muchas ligas de fútbol, pero que son ligas privadas que solamente que usan las escuelas, las canchas deportivas de las escuelas, usan el estadio de la ciudad, pero todas estas ligas son privadas que solamente tienen por objetivo hacer negocio y hacen negocio con nuestros hijos y con nuestras familias que somos de bajos recursos económicos. Yo quisiera proponer a la ciudad que invirtiera, otra vez que invierta por favor ese dinero en actividades para jóvenes, para niños, para nuestra comunidad. Al mismo tiempo quisiera que se abrieran actividades para nosotros los adultos, cómo aprender algún taller técnico que se invierta para que nosotros podamos hacer algo, Santa Ana se pudiera distinguir por sus artes, por sus cosas prácticas, técnicas que nosotras podemos desarrollar como tejido, como cocina, diferentes cosas que nosotros en la comunidad podemos hacer y sacarlas para la venta, sacarlas afuera. ¿Cómo nos pueden ayudar ustedes a desarrollar? Tenemos en la ciudad lo que es el mercadito que se lleva aquí cada mes, aquí en Santa Ana, pero que necesitamos apoyo de todos, de la ciudad, para que esto se haga publicidad, la ciudad se sienta orgullosos de nosotros, la comunidad, realmente lo que es la comunidad. En Santa Ana no solamente hay artistas, también habemos gente de bajos recursos que somos la mayoría y necesitamos de ustedes. Ustedes también habló la gerente respecto al cómo
Disculpe,
tener
si puede
un
terminar,
médico, un
por favor.
doctor. Con todo respeto, Santa Ana tiene una gran población, mucha comunidad, pero no tenemos una clínica para las personas que no tienen seguro social. ¿Qué tenemos que hacer? Salir a otras ciudades, a otros lugares, o estar pagando dinero que a veces no tenemos para poder acceder a poquita salud. Entonces, me gustaría también que se invirtiera en una clínica de la ciudad para los residentes de la ciudad, donde podamos tener acceso a los servicios básicos de salud. Y por qué no, hasta algo más. Es increíble que a veces en los países de tercer mundo hay clínicas, hospitales generales donde se atiende a todo mundo sin importar su origen, su raza, si tiene documentos o no tiene documentos. Son países en desarrollo, pero aquí en este país, en esta ciudad, no tenemos una clínica pública para asistencia de nuestros residentes, ni siquiera en lo más básico.
Gracias.
Entonces,
Gracias por sus
y me gustaría también que la encuesta se me hace muy reducida en cuanto a propuestas. Me gustaría que se implementara otro tipo de encuesta donde pudiéramos expresar realmente nuestras necesidades y que este tipo de reunión como ahorita, pues a lo mejor se llevara como lo hacen la organización de los residentes en diferentes áreas para que toda la comunidad tengamos acceso a este tipo de información. Muchas gracias. Buenas tardes.
Muchas gracias por sus comentarios. Okay, I'm going to
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Those are a lot of excellent comments and feedbacks and investment in our youth and our community. I love the ideas about programs for adults. And I do know that we do have some clinics that are able to serve individuals, but thank you for that suggestion about, maybe the city should step into that realm and provide for basic health services. With regards to the survey, Paul, is there an email address that we can provide? So for those individuals who maybe don't get to say everything they want to say here, or if they do believe that the survey isn't giving them enough opportunity, that we could get an email up to allow them to provide the feedback?
So there is a Revive email. That's revive@santa-ana.org. So that they could send that additional comments there as well. So I will share that as well in the chat so everyone can email that. So both the the website with the survey, then also the email too.
Perfect. And then just one more feedback. I wish we had more time to do more robust engagement. Part of the challenge has been we didn't know how much we were receiving. When we found that out, we didn't know what we could spend it on. We just found that out really yesterday. So we're operating under a pretty short window. We do anticipate receipt of about half of that funding to come in any day. So it has been difficult over a short period of time, and I wish we certainly had more time to engage a lot more community, because I do believe we would have had the opportunity to hear from a lot more people on their ideas. But thank you for your feedback.
Thank you. All right. I will move on to the next person here, Rachel Pozos. And again, please try to keep your comments as brief as you can. I know we all have a lot to share, a lot of ideas, but we have a lot of people who want to be heard. So we want to give everyone an opportunity if we can. Rachel Pozos, you are next.
Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Rachel Pozos, soy voluntaria en Alianza Trans-Latinez, la primera organización de mujeres trans en el condado de Orange. Soy voluntaria. En estos momentos de pandemia empezamos en el año 2020 y ha sido difícil el ver yo como voluntaria a mi comunidad trans siempre ser la más olvidada, el no recurrir a otras áreas, a otras organizaciones porque no se sienten cómodas, porque la gente no está preparada a tratarnos. En lo personal, me gustaría sugerir que se incluya Alianza Trans-Latinez para hacer llegar cierta ayuda a la comunidad trans, ya que en Alianza Trans-Latinez proveemos servicios, pero necesitamos de la ayuda de la ciudad para seguirlos proveyendo. En estos tiempos de pandemia, recuerden que la comunidad trans siempre somos la más olvidada y la más afectada, la comunidad LGBTQ en general, pero nuestra prioridad en Alianza Trans-Latinez somos las mujeres trans, ya que, como vuelvo y lo repito, siempre somos las más discriminadas. Me toca verlo esto de cerca porque ahorita en estos momentos salimos a hacer alcance comunitario todos los viernes a repartir condones, hand sanitizer y más a las mujeres que están mujeres trans que están ejerciendo el trabajo sexual, que son las más propensas también a contraer VIH y en estos momentos el COVID-19. Me gustaría que fuéramos parte de ya que, como vuelvo y repito, somos las más olvidadas y ojalá de alguna otra manera se nos pueda ayudar. Alianza Trans-Latinez también repartimos miércoles y viernes comida, platos de comida caliente a la comunidad en general, y también despensa los viernes por medio de otras organizaciones, pero en estos momentos ya no nos están ayudando con eso, entonces por eso nos gustaría, ojalá y tomaran en cuenta Alianza Trans-Latinez para seguir ayudando a la comunidad trans. Muchas gracias. Buenas tardes.
Thank you, Rachel, for that feedback. And similar, since you are elaborating on an area that we didn't have really in the survey part for you to comment on, if you want to utilize the email that Paul mentioned, I certainly would look forward to both Chloe and yours input on ways we could better serve the transgender community.
All right. Thank you. Now, Hatefas, I'm not sure about the name. Hatefas Y, it says. I'm going to go to you now.
Hi, my name is Hatefas Yop. I am a community organizer and youth counselor over at the Cambodian Family Community Center in Santa Ana. And I wanted to comment on whether or not the city of Santa Ana has plans to include language interpretation for the Khmer language within a lot of the forthgoing resources, especially, for example, for today, I had invited Khmer Santa Ana residents who only speak Khmer to attend this meeting, and I had also emailed the Revive email requesting a language interpreter. And I just want to highlight there is a big language disparity when it comes to residents that are monolingual seeking city and community resources. And so our agency has been kind of the primary threshold for a lot of Khmer language speaking residents to be able to access city resources or even resources related to COVID-19. I would also like to address if the funding can also include resource funding for mental health and wellness services, as many folks are impacted by mental health during the span of the pandemic. And a lot of our community residents, they are already dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, arriving as refugees fleeing from Cambodia during the genocide in the 1970s. And so a lot of our residents have already still carried that trauma with them, and they have a lot of unaddressed mental health issues. And so it would be great if the city can also include culturally and linguistically appropriate mental health services for our monolingual speaking Santa Ana residents, as well as rental assistance and small business supports that would also alleviate the stress from the pandemic as well. Thank you very much for taking the time to include me to be able to ask questions. I really appreciate it. And I also look forward to hearing more of what the future holds with this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Hatifas. You bring up an excellent point. And when I talked about challenges with communicating during the pandemic, I know we made a concerted effort to help address monolingual Vietnamese speakers. We didn't do anything with Khmer speakers. However, we need to know that, we need to hear that, and we need to improve on our communication so that all residents residing in the city can find out information about valuable programs that can help them. With the mental health services, I completely agree. I do think the pandemic has exacerbated mental health conditions in a lot of individuals. So currently right now the mental health services are provided under the county umbrella through Orange County Public Health. Mental Services Agency. So that's one. But as we look at, what services should the city be taking over as a public health department, we'll certainly keep that suggestion in mind. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. And just also on that note about the email, we did in fact receive your email this afternoon asking about Khmer translation. Unfortunately, it came in by the time it came in late this afternoon, and we saw it very close to the start of the meeting. So it was just not something we were able to accommodate on short notice. But as the city manager mentioned, it is something we are looking into going forward as far as just not specifically Khmer, but just how to best communicate and have participation with people from all cultural and language backgrounds in Santa Ana. So thank you. I will move on to Media Arts Santa Ana.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Wonderful. Hi, I am Victor Payan, the Director of Media Arts Santa Ana. We are a media arts instruction and organization. We do a film festival, the OC Film Fiesta, which is going in its 12th year, International Multicultural Film Festival that started here in Santa Ana. And I want to echo what I hear a lot of the people have been saying, especially some of the speakers in Spanish, for the need for amenities that serve the community in terms of even basic communications and internet service and availability. As we've seen with the pandemic, one thing is very clear, that the digital divide in Santa Ana is real. And there's so many that were caught on the wrong side of it without access to internet and services, which then shuts you off from other resources that are very critical. And I think that if we could use this money to help build resources in communities, community technology centers, Wi-Fi access points, digital libraries, put more tech in the parks and rec facilities so that people can go and do their homework or fill out applications, which is very critical, and also do work. I mean, if you were able to continue work online, you survived the pandemic a bit better. But there were a lot of people who weren't, and a lot of those in our community who are in that situation are essential workers. I want to stress that this funding is for recovery and not necessarily relief. There's a difference. That recovery is to build back stronger, not to come back the same as before, not to put money in the same places where it's been going. There may be a temptation to put it in the downtown to help the restaurants and the bars, but they've gotten enough resources from the city. This is the time to use these critical funds in the communities that are under-resourced, that haven't gotten their fair share, and to really build amenities for the 21st century, for the needs of the youth, of the adults. We teach classes in video production, in media literacy, in how to be a producer. And there aren't that many places throughout Santa Ana where you can do that, especially affordably. And I know there are other organizations that want to do that, to do technology training, job training. And if the city came halfway and provided space, that would help really invigorate the entire city for the future, create new job opportunities, really show what recovery means. And I think that this is also an opportunity to reimagine public space, to create spaces that the community can access for meetings, for learning, for performing, that have electricity and are secure, where people can take their kids and have programming. The organizations such as Cambodian Family and ourselves can bring programs out into the community and serve them, people in all of Santa Ana's wards. And I think that, like I said, it's very critical that, we know the statistics on Santa Ana for COVID. We know the statistics on essential workers and the barriers that we face. Let's use this money to make it easy to build a Santa Ana that we can surmount those barriers, really, cross that digital divide. And, that if people are afraid that they have to go out to work, make it easier for them to work from home. Make them easier to find resources that are available to them. A lot of, resources are free online, even in, like what would have been a $2,000 video editing program, you can get for free online. But if you don't have internet, and you don't have a computer, you're totally shut out in recovering from, expressing yourself. The arts are an important tool. I was, a member of the Arts Master Plan Steering Committee, and there are some real ideas in there to help get out into the community, to do exactly what some of the other speakers are saying, to use the arts to help the community, to help them get better jobs, to get, mental health resources, to express themselves. And I just really want to urge you all there to use, like I said, use this for recovery and not relief, and also to build something better. And I strongly urge you again to resist the temptation to funnel it to the downtown, because you've gotten lots of resources over the past 10 years. And this is really an opportunity to put these resources and amenities and quality of life and health and mental, spaces that are open to the community, where people can heal and, be, de-stress. So that's what I'd have to say. And like I said, it's a really great opportunity to serve the entire city.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks, Victor, and good evening. I love your idea about the technology piece. We had a very robust conversation with that brainstorming among the executive team, and our library director has some fabulous ideas in there, and he has already implemented quite a bit that I hope you're already aware of. Hotspots are available at the library, so anybody that does have connectivity problems can check one of those out, and there are hundreds available. He also has been working on an actual laptop kiosk disc dispensing, where anyone can utilize laptops and use the Wi-Fi that is available at our library. So the other ideas that you have, I love, job training space, a lab. We did just kick off at our workforce center, a whole youth mentoring and youth internship program, but some really great ideas. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Cynthia Espinosa. Please go ahead. And just a reminder to please keep your comments and questions as brief as you can, because we have a lot of people to get through here. Thank you.
Sí, hola, muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Cintia Espinosa. Soy voluntaria en la organización de Alianza Translatinex. Pues como sabemos, desafortunadamente, la pandemia confirmó que nuestra comunidad transgénero es la más marginada, excluida, la más vulnerable, pero también afortunadamente la pandemia nos dio fuerza, valor para salir y hacer el trabajo para nuestra comunidad, hacernos un poco más visibles y así exigir nuestros derechos. Ahora, nos gustaría ser parte de esa ayuda. Ahora la comunidad transgénero sufre de problemas de vivienda, salud mental. Si nosotras como organización recibiéramos esa ayuda, podríamos apoyar más nuestra comunidad transgénero. Ahí viene la pregunta. ¿Qué probabilidad hay de que nuestra organización pueda ser parte y recibir la ayuda para poder ayudar a nuestra comunidad transgénero a pagar sus rentas?
Well, certainly, one of the components under the guidelines is the assistance. And we currently have, we have a lot of other rental assistance programs, but these dollars can be spent on additional rental assistance program. So I think that's information that we can share with you. The entire proposed spending plan does need to go to council for approval, but I will say that with more and more coming out on the guidelines and as things transition, we need to remain flexible and adjust this, the information and the spending of it. But I would love to hear from, and I know that you're the third speaker on this issue, is, provide us some information, what exact program. I know you mentioned rental assistance, but it sounds like there might be some other programs that you're interested in providing to this community. If you can let us know what exactly program that would be, that is something that will help us better build assistance programs and make sure that we equitably offer it to all of the segments of our community. So I would encourage you as well, off the survey, if you can send an email to that email, that would be helpful for me to better understand in more detail the needs of your community. Does that make sense?
Sí, me parece muy bien. Gracias.
Okay, now we have Manny Escamilla. Please go ahead.
Okay, are you able to hear me there?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you so much, City Manager Ridge, and everyone else on the call. Appreciate the presentation. I just wanted to, again, I guess, think about this a little holistically in the sense of trying to figure out ways the city can be creative to reuse this money over time so that it's not just kind of a one-time use. So I believe in, if we invest in particular infrastructure items that will make the members of the city staff actually more efficient over time, that those are definitely worth considering. So I'm liking that Public Works is, looking to see ways that they can actually invest in systems to make sure that the Public Works projects don't conflict with each other, that they're done in the most cost-effective way, and that, preventative maintenance can be done. So, things like that I think are great. I really do believe, at least kind of listening into the other residents here, that some point that was brought up in earlier discussions with outreach with the general plan team was that the city is still missing a kind of a citizen relations management system to basically bring in the knowledge that everybody has about how to contact people and how to get the message out with all the various language concerns and all the various kind of issues that people want to hear about. That those types of systems are now in place. I believe there's a Project Bluebird in New York that helps the legislature over there kind of manage the entire state of New York as far as dealing with constituents, that we might be able to apply here at a local level, which I think is money well spent that will make staff more efficient overall at their job. One thing I will argue for is looking to see how Santa Ana might be able to join the public banking movement that's kind of emerging out of LA and Southern California and other parts of the state. So with changes in state law that might actually allow us to have our own publicly funded bank that would help address maybe some of these issues in the sense of being able to provide a startup capital at low cost, individual training, and also kind of partnering with ways to make city assets more valuable. So if you look at a community center, if we add one table here, it becomes a tax center. If you add another table over there and some outdoor play space, it becomes a after school or during school, what do you call it, childcare center. So there are lots of ways to think about it creatively, but then while still minimizing the ongoing costs to the city and maybe being more proactive about leasing out spaces for these types of micro or cooperative businesses that have been proposed by other agencies. So again, I just ask that we look for ways to creatively leverage this money to create those systems, which will then allow us to be more efficient and provide for multiple unpredictable needs down the road. So with that, thank you.
Thanks, Manny. You always come up with clever ideas. I really love the multi-utilization of space. One of the challenge that will be with this money being a kind of a one-time opportunity for us, we do need to be very cautious and careful of using it for ongoing expenditures because there is a finite end date for the funding. So we expect to receive half of it any day now. The other half won't be received until about no sooner than a year out, 12 months. And then all of the funding that's received has to be obligated by December 2024. So it does make it hard to do ongoing long-term nature expenditures. But thank you for your feedback.
Okay, thank you. Moving on now to Gabriela Gonzalez. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Gabriela Gonzalez, and I've worked for nonprofits in Santa Ana for the past 15 years. And I just wanted to mention and make sure that we keep and stay aware that these funds are to help those to recover from COVID trauma. So in our community in Santa Ana, we're the hardest hit. We haven't talked about loss of life and the trauma that has caused our families, especially the underserved and low-income families in Santa Ana. Also, let's remember that this is May, Mental Health Awareness Month. And we did mention mental health once, but we really, really need to focus on mental health services for those that have suffered throughout this pandemic. And this isn't just like, 1 week. This is a whole year of trauma and ongoing, right? It's still a global pandemic. You mentioned, City Manager, that we do have mental health services through the county, but our community is not going to go to the county when there's not culturally appropriate services offered, or when there are other agencies that have boots on the ground that have been serving the community, especially, for example, Spanish monolingual communities that represent, 70% of the residents in Santa Ana. Our Latinos. So I really want us to make sure that we invite those trusted organizations that have been working day in and day out, pandemic or no pandemic. We mentioned that we have 1,300 surveys. We have a community of over 300,000 residents. That is not representative of our community. I would be embarrassed. I mean, with all due respect, we really need to work harder in engaging our community response, because the money is for our community. We need to think locally. We need to think about residents. We need to think about organizations that are doing door-to-door outreach, like Latino Health Access. The county kind of abandoned us with COVID. And these organizations were the ones that were literally saving lives and continue to do so. So I really, really want us to make sure that we include mental health services and include those organizations like Casa de la Familia and Latino Health Access and, our neighbors at Cambodian families that, regardless of what happens, they have been working. We're talking about $142 million. With a smidgen of that money, we could do so much. And we have been doing, so much. So imagine what we could do with more support. So please don't forget the people that have suffered the most. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabriela. And some of the things that are permitted under the guidelines, it is intended to better assist the areas that were hit the hardest. And there is a lot more flexibility on spending if it is a qualified census tract. But in regards to those that have suffered the most in our community, some of the programs can include payment of funeral expenses, potential survivor assistance. So those are all great suggestions. In regards to, community outreach, once again, very, very short timetable. And, I wish we had more time and we could mail the survey to all. I think we're closer to 400,000 residents in our city, but we are trying very hard to really seek and listen to your input. So thank you.
Next, we have Danny Vega. Please go ahead.
Hi, yeah, my name is Danny Vega, a resident of Ward 3. I sent out an email to all the council members and to the mayor, but I wanted to go ahead and just repeat what was in the email. This has to do with transparency. It would be nice if we had a dedicated page on our city website showing the public how much and where the funds are ultimately going to go to. This list should be thorough, and we should be able to track down to the dollar where all $143 million will go to. So we spent $5 million going to cleaning and sanitation of public spaces. Okay, tell us exactly what spaces are going to be cleaned and sanitized. We need to have an end goal for the money being spent. The reason why I bring this up is that I don't want us a year from now to wonder what exactly was accomplished and where that money went to. In terms of my suggestions, I only have one: all things homeless. I don't think I have ever made a poll through social media where the homeless crisis wasn't at the very top of the list of things that residents were most concerned about. I know we want to sprinkle money everywhere, but can we just solve this issue once and for all, or make real progress so we can improve the quality of life of our residents? There was a transient that was punching the hood of my wife's car as she was pulling out of the neighborhood. And she's pregnant, by the way. I found out through Nextdoor that the same individual verbally sexually harassed a woman who was walking her dog. I think the residents have really had enough of this. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. And I agree. What we do hear most about is homeless. And fortunately, these dollars can be provided to assist in that area. Good comments, and I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Okay, now we have a question. Well, this is Galaxy Note. So please go ahead. Can you state your name, please? Is someone on the call with a Galaxy Note as an ID?
I think they're still muted, Paul.
Yeah, I've asked them to unmute.
Oh.
And I don't have a name. So we may have to move on for right now then. Okay, we will come back to that. Let's go to Moises Vasquez.
Hi, my name is Moises Vasquez. I am a Santa Ana resident, and I also work in Santa Ana with Latino Health Access. And I was just going to say that for a long time, there has been a disinvestment for youth in Santa Ana, especially when it comes to mental health services. There has been a lot of loss of family members and a lot of stress that even before the pandemic, our youth were going through a lot, and now this pandemic just made things worse. So I know that for a couple of years ago, there was a campaign that Latino Health Access and other organizations were part of that began the conversation of having a health department that could address the health needs of Santa Ana youth. And I think that this is an opportunity to create something like that, or begin to create something like that. I know that we don't have much time to do something like that, but definitely mental health is something that keeps coming in everybody's comments. And I think that when it comes to youth, definitely mental health services are something that is a great need for our youth right now. So let's invest in our youth. Let's also, how can we bring services to the neighborhoods and not centralize everything in downtown and at the library? How can we work with schools or other community centers to bring those services to the neighborhoods? Let's bring arts to the neighborhoods. Let's bring festivals to the neighborhoods, and really have try to work to invest in our youth.
Thank you.
Thank you, Moises, and you gave me a great lead-in. So in terms of bringing things to the residents, I think the city did an exceptional job, and the staff worked very, very hard at going mobile with CARES. But also, I'm not sure if you read staff reports or follow council meetings, but we are bringing back the book Techmobile that's going to hit the streets, that's going to go out. We also have a Zoo-mobile. So we have a lot of things already underway to bring programs out to the neighborhoods. But thank you for your feedback.
Okay, now we have, we are starting to run out of time here, so we're going to do a few more that we have left here. We've got Pocha Peña. Please go ahead.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Hi, this is Sandra Pocha Peña, and I'm a Santa Ana native and a resident over on the east side in the Pacific Park neighborhood. I'm one of the neighborhood leaders, and I'm also a historic resources commissioner. So I just want to remind everyone that we are the second most historic city in the entire county. It's really us and San Juan Capistrano that, you know, are the two oldest and most historic cities with the most historic assets concentrated in our locations. So we should really work closer. I really would love to see the city work more closely with the Historic Resources Commission in preserving our historic properties that we currently have, the ones that are held by the city, and just encouraging folks that do invest in the city to preserve the historic character of our neighborhoods, to create historic guidelines, and most importantly, his cultural corridors all over our city, not just in the downtown. We can do that easily with vinyl flags and with kiosks or markers, physical markers, like we hope to on South Main. South Main is a great opportunity to start to tell our story and detail the many historic locations that we have concentrated in that area. Also along the OC streetcar route, we have 10 stops which stop in 10 unique neighborhoods that each also have an important history about Santa Ana to tell, a different community that resides there. So we could tell those stories through these cultural corridors, through